Back in elementary school, we used to have music class. Our school didn't have any instruments for us to play, so we would usually be forced to sing songs together with a teacher. One day, our teacher, who was built like Dr. Robotnik from Sonic, wanted us to sing a song. The song went on something like this. Our rooster's dead, our rooster's dead. Even us 12-year-olds thought that this was the gayest song ever. But she also wanted us to sing it in canon, so she divided the class into 3 groups. And then the nightmare began. We couldn't keep the rhythm, and every time we went out of sync, we had to start all over again. Our rooster's dead, our rooster's dead. Oh, out of sync? Let's start again. Our rooster's dead, our rooster's dead. Oh, out of sync? Let's start again. We had to start over and over and over again. This went on way too long for a couple of 12-year-olds to handle. Then all of a sudden, the kid with the severest case of ADHD screamed out in frustration, "I can't take it anymore!" And he ran out of the classroom, slamming the door behind him. All of us other students was thinking the exact same thing, but we didn't do anything about it. "Let's take it from the top," said the teacher. Our rooster's dead, our rooster's dead. What we later learned was that this teacher had a drinking problem, and that day she had shown up shit-canned for work. We normal students didn't realize that the situation was completely absurd. Only the kid with ADHD was the sane one in this situation. But why am I telling you this story? Recently, I had a discussion on Twitter with a eugenicist that proposed that the sterilization practices that were present over the last century was a good thing, where they removed mentally ill people from the gene pool. Setting aside the obvious human rights issues, eugenics could sound like a good idea. Lower levels of mental illness? Why not? But this reminded me about the time with the drunk teacher and the neurodivergent kid, where he was the only one that could take action when none of us else could. This got me thinking, is there a possibility that neurodivergent people such as schizos, Spurgs and bipolar people could actually be an important asset to a society? There is this meme circulating where psychopaths, who are the people in power, can control the normal people with deception and abuse. But the schizos are immune to the psychopath's propaganda and notices what they are up to. This argues that schizos are an important aspect of a functioning society, where they warn the normies about the power-hungry psychopath's schemes. But this would also imply that if this ecosystem is disrupted by removing the schizos from the gene pool, the psychopaths will get too much control over our society. Until the 1970s, Sweden had a eugenics program where we sterilized our feeble-minded citizens. One of the victims of this was the musician and petty criminal called Johnny Bode, who got put in a mental institute in the 1940s and was sterilized. He managed to escape to Finland, where he volunteered in the army, but got discharged because he was impossible to work with. Back in Sweden, the anti-Nazi sentiment had become high at the time, so Johnny was walking around with his Finnish army uniform with a visible swastika on, trolling the cultural elite of Stockholm. He continued doing this until he got blacklisted from all the social events. Then he went to Norway to work for the Nazis, who had occupied the country at the time. But even the Nazis ended up rejecting him, because he was such a difficult person. After that, he tried his luck in East Germany, but it resulted in bankruptcy. However, there was a lot of genius inside the madness, and when he went to Austria under a new name, he became a quite successful composer. But you guessed it, he couldn't handle the fame and had to leave that country as well. Back in Sweden, he started working with the cultural underground in the late 1960s and started writing pornographic songs that were totally politically incorrect at the time. His most famous song has stood the test of time and is still to this day totally politically incorrect due to his repeated use of the N-word. His songs lay the foundation for the crotch punk genre, where people write songs that are as disgusting, funny and provocative as possible. Today, Johnny is remembered as a role model for dissidents and mavericks, and there is even a yearly prize given in his name if someone does something controversial that really pisses people off. Despite getting sterilized in his 30s, Johnny was such a Chad that he already passed on his genes when he was 15, and his descendants became songwriters as well. And there is no doubt in my mind that he would have tons of more children if he hadn't been sterilized. The question I ask myself is, how would Sweden be different today if multiple Johnny Buddhas were still around? Would they be shy to offend people like the regular Swede? Or would they be trolling the shit out of the cultural elite in the same way as their great-grandfather did? And how many of these Johnny-like characters have we removed from the gene pool by our eugenics practices? Is this the reason why Swedes are such obedient cucks that goes along with whatever tyranny they put us under? I ask myself, did we sterilize everyone that would have spoken up against the madness of today? Since I'm the last of a dying breed of dissident Swedes, you can support me by subscribing and playing my videos over and over and over again. This will make the YouTube algorithm boost my reach, and wouldn't it be hilarious if people got exposed to stuff like this instead of Mr. Beast or Lex Friedman?